Can you pass the Oki plate?
Maybe tomorrow.
Oki plate.
Tomorrow enough to with the video. Maybe I'll. But okay. Okay, mach nicht das. Okay, darf gib mal mit Base.
Eight lamp from the top.
Yeah, Amr Abaye. Amr Abaye, Pshitali. There's a concept of a carmelist. We're going to learn later in the Braisa. Arba Rishus l'Shabbos. There's 4 different names for the Rishus. There's Rishus Rabim, there's Rishus Yochid, Carmelist, and Malkam Ptur. The word Carmelist is a very funny word. It comes up the Gemara today, and Rashi is going to say that the word Carmelist, that Rashi says, comes from a word in Yeshaya, Perek Yud, which means 2 words together. Yare v'karmeloi. Yare v'karmeloi means it's not here, it's not there. She'eni hiluch l'rabim v'loi tashmish rishus hayochid. It's not this, it's not that. It's not rishus hayochid, it's not rishus harabim. Where do we find that pasuk in Tanakh? So the pasuk talks about the story of Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda. That there was the king of Sancheriv came and conquered many cities in the kingdom of Eretz Yisrael, including took away all the Aseret Shvatim. He was already encroaching in the land of Yehuda, and he took away many of the territories. And the Navi says that he's going to. This Navi is Yeshaya. The Navi says that he's going to have a blowing defeat when he gets to Yerushalayim. Now, it happens to be this Pedic is Akdama to the next Pedic. In the first Pedic, it's a whole Pedic about how when he's going to come to the gates of Yerushalayim, he's going to have a blowing defeat, which is what happens in the night of Pesach. Navi says there was 180,000 soldiers, and they all got killed that night. So at the end, it says that the Eibishter is going to finish off all the covet of Yare v'Charmaloi. Yare v'Charmaloi, the Meforshim say, it means his army was so big, it looked as big as the Carmel forest. It looked as Yare v'Charmaloi. So Rashi says the word Carmelist comes from Yare v'Carmeloi. Yar and Carmel means 2 different things. It's 2 different types of forests, or the Radak says one is like a farm and one is like a forest. So Rashi saying the farm ain't no Rishus Harabim, and the oh, it's not working?
Oh, it's just 2%.
Oh,
see your head.
So the farm is not really Rishus Hayochid, and the forest is not really Rishus Harabim, and that's where the expression of Carmelist comes. Yare v'Carmeloi. At the end of this nevuah, by the way, is where there's the end of this comes the famous nevuah, which we read once a year. At the end of that pedic is Oy Dayom Benoiv Lamed Yunoif of Yodei Har Basti and give us Yerushalayim. That's the Haftorah and Achron Shal Pesach. B'yotzach hoyte megeza Yishoy v'nocher Ruach Hashem Ruach Chochma Bin Ruach Eitzad Gvura Ruach Das V'Yiris. You're talking about Mashiach, which is that the Eibush said that even the Aseret Shvatim that were taken away by Sancheriv, eventually Mashiach is going to come and everyone is going to come back, and then there's the whole nevuah about Mashiach coming. We go to Zevin Keves. V'lo yoreh v'lo shchisum Olar Tzdes Shem Kamayim L'Machasam V'Ari Kabokar Yerchol Teven V'hoya B'Yemahu Sheresh Yishai, that the descendant of Yishai is going to bring all the Yidden back from V'hoya B'Yemahu Yosef Adoina Yishenis Yoda Litnas Shoramei Asher Shar Ma'ashor Mitzrayim Me'Pasrus Me'Kush Me'Elam Me'Shinnim Me'Chamas Mi'ayam. Okay.
It's nothing to do with Eliyahu Navi and Harakabel.
This is much later.
Harakabel is the name of a place.
All right.
It's Carmeli.
Right.
It's not the Shudabim, not the Shudech.
Right.
It's not this.
But the expression is here, Yare v'Charmel. I figured Nemesis this morning. I was like so stuck into one of these. I'm still like jet lagged, so I'm partially learning Tanakh now because I come back from Eretz Yisrael, and every place I take a booklet like this. There's 69, and the 69. I thought there were 63 different national parks in Israel. So there is it's always, this happens to be one park which I always take the kids to. I can't not take. So Mitzvah Shem, if you're ever going to take your children to Eretz Yisrael, and Matzena Kedosha, this happens to be a totally not miss park to do.
Okay.
No, not Pekin. This is City of David, Ir David. You see, here they show you they found what they thought was from the meal of the Kohen Gadol. So yeah. So what's so fascinating about it is that the kids have a ton of fun. That's just the bottom line. The kids have right outside here. I should put a map with me so you can see. Wow, this is like a highlight for the kids. So why is this a highlight for the kids? Because here is the Harabayis right up here, and for many years they didn't know where was the original city of Yerushalayim, the city of the Yevusi that David HaMelech conquered. And about 20 years ago, they discovered what they think now is the original city of Yevusi, which is Yerushalayim, which is outside the walls of today.
150 years ago.
Yeah, but it became a big thing. City of David as a tourist attraction.
Oh, it's really a tourist attraction. Yeah, but they knew already there was this British explorer who
True.
Scientists.
Yeah, true. But it became a big. So it's outside the gates of Yerushalayim, where you go on the bus if you drive in from Dung Gate Sharash buses, and they say that that's really where the city of Yevusi is. And on one side there is Nachal Kidron, another
Arab village.
right, Silawan Valley. It's a valley, right? It's really lower than the rest of Yerushalayim. It's just unbelievably fascinating. Now there's a couple of Jewish families that live there, and they have to buy houses from Arabs. It's terrible how difficult it is, because the Arabs, if they sell a house to a Jewish family, it's like they're putting a mark on their head to be finished. So there are all kinds of straw men that's in the between until they buy a house. Anyway, what's one of the things that the kids love about this place? And it's that they discovered, and it's a story in Tanakh, but there's a story that the Gemara talks about Barichas. It has to do with a tefillah that we say. It's just fascinating that it comes to light. A story that's mentioned in the Gemara. That the Gemara says in Psachim Daf Nun Vav, Shisha Dvar Maseh Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda. There were three things that he did. The Chacham said they were a great idea. Three things he did. They said terrible idea. What were the three things? So one of the three things is that it says in Divrei Hayomim in Perek Lamed Zayin that Chizkiyahu told his advisors there were two things that he did that Chacham were very upset about. Number one, he thought that he'll get rid of Melech Asher by appeasing him, by sending him Kesef Azov, and he's even Kitzes Dalzes HaHeichel. He cut down the Dalzes of the Heichel that was made out of gold, and he sent it to Melech Asher. Chacham said, why are you doing it? If the Navi told you that to have betochen, why are you sending your money? You're wasting your money. The second thing he did was that he thought that what's going to happen, they're going to come, 180 soldiers are going to come from Sanchev and surround this tiny city of Yerushalayim. Where's the water supply for Yerushalayim? Outside of Yerushalayim. So all they have to do is shut the water. 3 days, everyone dies. So he said that, what are we going to do? So he had an unbelievable project that was done under incredible duress that they made, that the Gichoin, which is a spring, should go instead of outside Yerushalayim. Again, there's not the walls of Yerushalayim that we see today. These are the original walls of Yerushalayim in the days of the first base of Mikdash. which are built around the block where the original walls were in the city of the Yabusi, that the water should be, instead of outside the city, inside the city. So, like someone just mentioned, Taka was not 20 years ago, but it's 150 years ago that the discovery was made. That's why the critical piece of this whole piece of art is missing. It's in the museum in Istanbul, is that Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda realized he didn't have time here. And this is an unbelievable project to do. So he had to dig underground to divert the Gichon spring. So he had two teams working, and there were no geological kalim, and there was no GPS. And they figured out that if they dig towards each other and they meet, is git. If they don't, is nish git. But there was no way to figure out if banging in the stone and the bedrock 30, 40 feet under the city, how are they going to figure out what's getroffen? They met in the right place, and they diverted the waters to go under Yerushalayim. Allah Chacham said that was a bad idea. Now, when they did divert the water, they were such a simcha that they wrote a plaque, and it was like miraculous that they met. Like even today, you can't have GPS on the ground, 30 feet on the ground. How are you supposed to know that one group should meet the other group? So
now there is a tunnel that the Arabs go underground.
Yeah, we'll have the love of those. So they wrote a plaque. Now this plaque is now missing. This original plaque is now in a museum in Istanbul. However, the cave they couldn't take to Istanbul, and the water also they couldn't take to Istanbul. So today it's a living museum. So the children could put on Crocs, and you buy for 3 shek. You buy a flashlight, and the kids have a ball, mamish beyond control. They go, and they pick up the mehept of the hoizen and the ice water, and the water will go up to your ankle, the most up to your thigh. The water is this big, this depending on the time of the year, and you walk through the entire path, and then you get to that place where there's a plaque. They put the real plaque is not there, but they put another plaque, written, chiseled in, saying about the whole thing, about the whole project, and how they met miraculously middle of the way. And then you go till the end, and you go out, and you have a big pool where the water used to. But the water is the same water. It's all from the Gichon spring. It's the same, and nothing changed. The only thing is that the plaque was stolen. And the plaque is in Istanbul. The kids have a ball like unbelievable, and so you have to bend down some places. The kids, it's something, different experiences. It's sachakel. The whole thing going in the tunnel is 25 minutes, a half hour. Mm-hmm. But you've been there, right? It's an unbelievable experience. It's unbelievable. So I just want to share with you a beautiful shtickle from the Kelos Yaakov Zachman Lebrocha, from the Stipler. Yeah. So Stipler says that there's a tefillah we say for Geshem. The tefillah in Geshem it says. In the Shainet Haba, Laman hider asoyser tzanecha, hamachris tshuva litzaynecha, oz bevoy mecharev sosem enes moyim. And whatever, say Lamanoi, Hishiyoi, Vetein moyim. No, he's saying it by Shainet Haba, because Shainet Haba is also part of that. Oz bevoy mecharev, when the mecharev, because Sanchedev, the whole Perek of it says how Sanchedev was a big Balgaiva, and the Eibishter says, "Who do you think you are?" The Eibishter says, "Hagarzen that would I spor Hagarzen ala choitzevoy in misgadol amasher ala manifoy." You're thinking that you're having success all over the world. You're like a Hagarzen in my hand, and you saw a big Balgaiva. So he was a big Balgaiva against, and he picked up his hands against Yerushalayim. Oz bevoy mecharev sosam einis moim, that Chizkiyahu closed off the ways of water and he diverted it into Yerushalayim. And in his chus we should have water. Frek the Stipler, I don't understand. Akavon Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda shesosam einis moim etzarchim. We gewurde bevor begemore Pesachim dafnum vav. Shisha dvarim asek Chizkiyahu Melech. Ashloisha hoide lo shloisha lo hoide. Lo yisosam megichen. Lo hoide lo. Pirush Rashi sosam megichen niksiv lo maliyov malchei asher im tzumayim lishtes. Lo hoide lo yishar liftech bakadosh baruch hashamay v'ganoisi el hir azois lo yishia. Bim ken eichem avaksher mayim l'schusa v'lo hoide lo chachamim. V'kaimel and kavasai shloya maises lehogun. Zakasha. We're davening Yeshayna Rabbi David should give us some water in the schus of Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda, who had this unbelievable project that he put the water of the Gichon into Yerushalayim.
Why did Chachamim didn't agree with them?
Because they said they should have had Amun and Bitoch, should have left the water out.
And where the water going to come?
That's a pella. So he brings here an interesting thing. Number one teretz, he says, both terutzim are very interesting. Number one teretz is al korch shonim alakshim al chelke aschus agdolim shel Chizkiyahu melech l'maiseh ki lefi daiten eskav al mitzvah v'aso b'chol yichudeh v'kavonoseh. Interesting.
That everybody knew what was Tom of the paranormal.
Right. So he was such a big tzaddik. So even though this thing was wrong, before it's a little bit of a doichik teretz. So he found Veshuvri Isi B'Shem Reb David Luria. It was a very choshev time from me. He lived somewhere not far from Lubavitch, actually. He wrote Horus on the Tzemach Tzedek thought highly of him. No, it was Litvak. B'chidush Val Pirkei de Rebbe Lezer Shehik Shekain V'tiritz the Efshe the Sfira LaPaitin Kavos de Rebbe Nosson This Sham Shesosam Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda Megichem Viskim Moidaite Ledas Hamokem. That there's another shita. The Avos de Rebbe Nosson disagrees with the Gemara. The Gemara says Lo Yoide Lo Chachamim, and the Avos de Rebbe Nosson says not only Yoide Lo Chachamim, there is Viskim Moidaite Ledas Hamokem, and therefore whoever wrote the Tefillah, the Piyutim of Hoshayna Rabbah did not hold like the Chachmei Hashas, who said Lo Yoide Lo Chachamim. He held like the Avos de Rebbe Nosson that says no, he's Kimadaita L'das Hamokem. This is so amazing. So I love to tell it to my children, and like they go, like this thing we're walking now, that there's a machloikas going on in the Gemara. Adayom, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Definitely there was a nest that happened over here, that the odds that these two groups will meet were not that high. So the Eibishter wouldn't make a nest if it was the wrong thing. But anyway, the Gemara says it was the wrong thing. But we do say in the Tefillah of Hoshayna Rabbah that we're in the schus of this project, and the schus of that we say that Oz bevoy mecharev sosam einos moyim. And we're asking in this chus that the Eibishter should give us more water. So the simple pshat taka is that this is according to the shit that did the right thing. Anyway, so
How old is this with the company?
oh, so I'm just a small, because I'm style. As I said, I want to share with you what experiences now as well. But just have because it says that Rashi is going to say in the sugya, the word Carmelis comes from this nevuah. That it said that the Eibishter said that when he's going to come to Yerushalayim, that he has this big army that is like a Yare v'Charmeloi. It's like a big forest. It's like the forest of the Carmel. And the Eibishter says, don't worry, that whole army is going to come to Yerushalayim, and when they get there, they will be decimated. And Kachava, and that's what happened. Oh, you learned this morning in the San?
No, it was an
What? It's sugya. Right, because he didn't sing Shira. Unbelievable thing. And he sort of.
It's right there. If you take the case of Mayana Shiloh, you go down.
That's down. But this is the Gemara says it's called the Gichon.
Designers love it.
Uh-huh.
Luciana models.
Why?
Fighting the national pride.
Gary, this is the opposite.
I know.
That he's expected to not have done, according to the Gemara, like it's 101. What are you supposed to do? The enemy should have the water. You should, ad kedei kach? No, you should trust. The truth is, even the opinion that says that he did the right thing, the Gemara says that he went to sleep. So how does a person, and I always tell this to my children, I said, sometimes you have the smallest war in your head and you can't fall asleep. You have an army of 180,000 savages. They want to come to Yerushalayim and kill every Yiddish person there. And now you're the king. You're responsible. How do you fall asleep?
Seems like he didn't know. Marosov seems to say that he didn't know that they were there. He found that in the morning and he saw them, because of the plague.
But he knew they're coming.
Right, but he didn't see them
that night. So it's a big geschlafen, but it's a little bit sounds that he did know something's going on, because there's a lotion over there is that he said, "Ein bikoyach lasas melchama ani yoshanu metosi v'ata tasa." There's such a lotion. I don't know if it's in that Gemara or in Medrash, but there's such a lotion. He said, Chizkiyahu said, "I have no koyach anymore. I can't even daven. I'm weak. I'm going to sleep. You take care of everything." How do you fall asleep? It doesn't matter how exhausted the person is. How do you fall asleep when there's such a thing? You have to have betochen to the highest level to fall asleep. How do you fall asleep?
The Kabbalah asked the same question by Rome Vino. He's saying every morning, yes, the Avish told you tomorrow you're going to study your son. How are you going to sleep? Then you went to sleep. How are you going to sleep and tomorrow you're going to study the son?
Yeah. How did the Chizkiyahu Melech go to sleep? Elamai, he had unbelievable betochen. Elamai had unbelievable betochen. And the fact that he diverted the water of the Gicha, Taka Machlokes and Chazal, if he did the right thing or the wrong thing. But the Poel, the Stipler points out that the tefillah that we say in our Nusach, and that Kilu he did the right thing, not the wrong thing. What's fascinating that you can go today and see a mamish touch that place and walk there with your feet and see it. Anyways, I just wanted to share.
Maybe on his level, it was
right.
Our level is not it, but on his level, the
Right.
biggest miracle, the water usually going from up down. Over there, if you look at it, the water going the opposite, not going up down.
But there's a hesber. There's a hesber.
It's hard to understand. It's a miracle because usually water going down, not up the trajectory.
Right.
But the geology of that area is very strange. Think of Amuka. I think there are two places like that in Yerushalayim. There's a very strange gravity and geologic.
So anyway,
That's also the place where Shlomo HaMelech was anointed.
right.
to become-
Right. The Chaim was right, because Adinio went to Ein Roige, and we just this week's Haftarah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. This week's Haftarah, exactly. So anyway, I'll admit Hashem in the next few shurim we'll share a few more interesting places. This is very popular. Every American tourist that comes with the family wants to go here. But I think it's Taka Kedai to go. And they're constantly making more discoveries. There was a place that was a parking lot. So when we went with the first children, so we parked there in a parking lot. The next time we were there, which was 6-7 years ago, they said, no, you can't park here. Why? No, it's turning into a dig. I just remember no, go out, you can't park here. This time I was here. No. This is outside the Sharash Posses, mamish outside. Now that the whole parking lot is all excavated. It's unbelievable. Huge space. And now it's all they're like 60-70% done. And you could already walk around there and see. And they show you what's on Zman Bayis Rishon and what's bound the first by the end of Bayis Rishon, Bayis Sheni, different buildings. There's a lot going on over there already. It's not everything is clearly marked because it's still working, but they make that you can walk all around it. What used to be the parking lot. It's just fascinating to see a work in progress. You park there, 3 years, 4 years later you come, they tell you no parking. 5-6 years later you come. You see all of a sudden they undug a palace and another and a building and a this and a that. And
It's scary to drive there because you have to go through Shashchem.
It's the opposite of Shashem. But when you go out, like this time, the GPS took me. First of all, in order to get there, you have to drive through Silan,
Right.
which is an Arab neighborhood, doesn't feel very comfortable to drive.
The bus goes there.
And then you got to go down and up Mamish to an Arab neighborhood. And then when you go out, it's like this time, I just followed the GPS. So it took me all around the other way, Harazaisim, Shashchem, all of just like.
And the traffic is disaster.
And the traffic disaster, and all of a sudden you feel claustrophobia, Arabs and all Zayten. And the GPS you can't put in, like, there's no feature. Please take me the safe way. I don't want to be in the Arab neighborhoods. And GPS just takes you. Okay. Anyway, so highly recommended to visit.
Yeah.
Even if you've been there, you should know there's a lot more discoveries in
Wow.
Mitzvah Mashiach will be the biggest discovery.
I'm always scared to try it on the East Jerusalem side.
For sure. It's scary.
I'm too afraid.
But this happens to be a very good place when you ever go with children. It's eye-opening for the children to learn these things, and it's unbelievable. Okay, so this is all mamish tangential because Carmelis comes from this nevuah that's with Chizkiyahu Malach Yehuda. Chvoid Yarmoi v'Charmeloi. Okay, let's go into Gemara. Zog the Gemara, Amar Rabbi gesagt, Pshita li. It's a double pasha to me. Yodei shel adam ein eloi kerishus haram eloi kerishus hayachid. The person's hand doesn't have the din of rishus haram and rishus hayachid. If he puts it away from his body, we don't say that now the hand, if it's a rishus haram, rishus haram, it's a rishus hayachid. No, we don't say that. Kushrabim loy. How do we know that? Rishus haram loy damya miyodei dioni. I know from the hand of the poor man. He puts it in. He's standing in the shoe, Saddam. He puts it into the shoe. We don't say that. We say he made the akira. One guy made the akira. One guy made the anocha. And we don't say, oh, since the on is standing in the shoe Saddam, his hand is like the shoe Saddam. So the osher made akira anocha from the shoe Saddam to Shem. We don't say that. And the kishu seyachid loydamia. We can learn that again. Miyoda the balabayis. We don't say if the balabos put out his hand, we say, oh, the balabos did the akira, and the oni did the anocha, and we don't say, oh, the hand of since his body's in the rishus yochid, so his hand is in the rishus yochid, so now the oni kilu made akira in the rishus yochid anocha. We don't say that. So we see that the hand is not considered like the rest of the body, and the hand is not a rishus haram, not a rishus yochid. Okay, fine, that's clear. Okay. Boya, my question is like this. Did the Rabbanon make a knas? If a person put out his hand from Rishus HaYochid to Rishus HaRabim or the other way around. So we're saying it's clear that his hand doesn't have any more the din of the original Rishus. So should we say that maybe the Chachamim would make a gzeira and want to punish the person and say, you knew you're not supposed to put your hand out, and you put your hand out with something in your hand. So you know what? We'll make a knas. In the mind of a buyer, if his hand is really Rishus HaYochid, so it doesn't make sense to give him a knas because
He didn't do anything.
it didn't do anything. But since when he took to put it in his hand, he's not such a tzaddik over here. His hand is not a Rishus HaYochid. So maybe we should say that Chachamim made a knas. Now, Tosfos points out a very important thing. They could say, oh, we gave a knas. A knas is a knas. Whatever, when you're in yeshiva, you ever got a knas? You got a knas. A knas. The knas doesn't always have to have a lumdus. It could be a knas without a lumdus. You get a $25 knas if a knas. Is there a lumdus in the knas? It's a knas. So here there's a lumdus to the knas. The knas is that his hand is considered like a carmelus, and you're not allowed to carry from a carmelus to Rishus HaYochid or for a carmelus. Let's read it in Tosfos because it'll be important.
The honest part to understand is the same body. Part of the body is the Yochid, part of the body is Carmel.
Right.
How do you divide it?
It's because he put his hand right. It's a pella. Let's look in the Tosfos. Mikon sur Rabbanon ladure nire leri The goddess Mia Serua. That the Girs is not Mikonsur, Mia Serua. But the goddess Mikonsur, the command Besamuch Kimoik Medalavke Carmel is Damya. Later in the Gemara, we're going to say his hand is not like a carmel. Still, Amrin, the Gemara says, the also loves Zinum, Knas, Aknas. Alum the Sahir, what's the difference? Hand a carmel is not a carmel. You want to punish the guy. You're not supposed to put your hand with a sandwich in it from a Rosh Hashanah the other way around. You did it? Let your hand be suspended mid-air for the next 5 hours till it gets black and blue and purple. And after Shabbos, you put your hand back in, you put in a pack of ice, and you'll remember never to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So we don't need to have a lumdus. It's a knas. So we see that Shema, so therefore he says, at this point, the Gemara, not because of knas, maybe he thought it's also, his hand is really like a carmelist. Shema have the avdu a carmelist nama have a knos. He says, maybe, really it is a knas, but it's a knas with a lumdus. It's a knas with a lumdus. They said, we're going to punish you. What's the punishment? They could say one or two ways. They could say, punishment is you have to have your hand sticking out for the next 10 hours until it turns black and blue and it hurts you and you'll remember never to do this again. But they didn't say that. They said, we're going to turn your hand into a carmelist. Oh, now you're not allowed to carry from a carmelist to a shusayachid. So automatically you have to stay stuck there for the next 10 hours. It'll turn black and blue and it's going to hurt you. Right? It's a knas with a lumdus. Well, who cares if the knas is with alumnus or the knas is without alumnus? So Toldos explains there's a big difference. The nafkamina de also b'shogig mevoid, as we'll see later, the Gemara will discuss it. The nafkamina is if we say it's tama knas, so the knas is only if he did it on Shabbos. Well, what's if he did it on Friday and his hand is still out the window after Lichbenchen and so why should you punish him? He did it out of Shabbos. But if you say that it's a knas with a lumdas, that they said that his hand is a carmelist. So what's the difference that he did it mevoid yoin? Well, the pilot's hand is, the Chacham said his hand is a carmelist. You're not allowed to take him a carmelist, and that's it. So that's the difference if it's tam a knas or a knas with a lumdas. So now you know there's two knasim. There can be a knas and a knas with a lumdas. Okay.
Right young would be Erev Shabbos.
Right, if he did Erev Shabbos, he's saying, if it was tam a knas, guy put his hand out from Shus Yochid with a sandwich, let it turn black and blue, it'll hurt him, and he'll always remember not to do that again. Okay, that's if he did on Shabbos. If he did Erev Shabbos, why are you going to give up? But if you say it's a knas with a lumdas, that because he put his hand, now his hand is a din of a carmelist, and he's in a Shus Yochid not allowed to carry from a carmelist Shus Yochid, so even if he did it on Friday, Lapoil, now it's already Shabbos, and his hand is still sticking out. So you're not allowed to carry from a carmelist to a Shus Yochid. So we'll go back in the Gemara. And by the way, but the Rambam that we're learning now, it's to do with Akira with Anoch.
No, it is a mistake. Is also Toloi or no?
Mm-hmm. Has to do with the Rambam a little today, yeah. By the way, so this is what Toldos is saying. If the Girsa here is if the Girsa is mikonsur rabbanon or mi asaru rabbanon, so there's a beautiful sfas emes. So there's a machlokas rishonim here. The Rashba says that this whole knas is only if he stuck his hand out from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. But if he stuck his hand from Rosh Hashanah into Rosh Hashanah in the private house, how could you turn it into a carmelist? He's in a private house. If I put my hand through the window from the street into the house, how can you tell me my hand is a carmelist? That's what the Rashba says. The Ritva says, no, it's a punishment. So Sema says, look, the Rashba Ritva is this. Is it a punishment? Or is it a punishment with a lumdus? If you say it's a punishment, it's a punishment. What's the difference? If I stuck out my hand from a Shusayochet to a Sharam, you came late to say that, $5 knas. Second time, $15 knas. Third time, $25 knas. What's the difference? A story, this, Hashem brachas, a bar mitzvah, bas mitzvah. I don't care any story, says the mashgiach. A knas is a knas. But if it's a knas with a lumdus, that you say that Chachamim turned his hand into a carmelist, okay. But if you stick your hand into a Rosh Hashanah, how could they turn it into a carmelist? It's a Rosh Hashanah. You can't. So that was the machloikis between between the Rajba and the Ritva. Let's read it inside.
How could be a Shita Yochid? One for the Shita Yochid, and the same time it's a covenant.
No, that's just it can be. That's what I'm saying. If it's a knas, you said, listen, you put your hand in, again a knas, your hand should stay there for 24 hours, it'll turn black and blue. Shagud gedek and not to do it again. Okay, a knas. But if you say turn into a karmelis, I can't say, I put my hand in the shosyoch, turn into a karmelis. Zog the Gemara again. Boy Abai, Yodashul Namash Tosaka karmelis, Mikan Surah Banala Dura Lagabe. Did they make this knas or this isur to say that he can't bring his hand back with the sandwich inside? Toshma, the Malay Pedis, we So the question was asked in a brayse. Tony Choda, one brayse we learned also lachzira. Tony Choda, and another brayse we learned muter lachzira. So it seems like a machloikis. My lab of kamifugay, really, this is the machloikis. Marosov a karmelis damya. His hand is like a karmelis, so Marosov a karmelis damya. So Gemara loy the kulam like a karmelis damya. Really, his hand is like a karmelis. Therefore, he can't bring it back out. Back in. If it's under 10 tvachim, if it's higher than 10 tvachim, so higher than 10 tvachim it's a new reshus amakim too. So Chum didn't want to bother him. It's talking about under Vesara. It was he put out his hand before Shabbos, so they don't want to punish. They don't want to bother him. Why should you punish him? He did it by night. He did it by night. So you did a bad thing for Shabbos. So therefore they punished him. So it makes sense. You don't give him a knas. It was machashech. You give him a knas. Okay, the Gemara will go over a little tangent over here. The Gemara Adraba, Ipchem Estabra. If he put it in his hand when it was still daytime, if he's going to throw it out of his hand, he's never going to get to Chiv Chatas anyway. So you can put a punishment onto him. If he's going to get sick and tired from putting his hand out, and he'll just get upset and throw it. Then you shouldn't give him a knas because you're playing with fire. He's going to get upset. He'll throw it, and then it'll be over. The Gemara says because the Gemara never thought of such a way of thinking. Is that that this is a wrong way of thinking? Now I can answer the question the Bibi Barabaya asked. The boy Bibi Barabaya hidbik pas betaner, a person that put bread into the tanner. In those days, the way they used to bake is the way they bake like lafas and pitas. So the Helfta Eibishter that we have a place on Coney Island that they actually make pitas that way. So right, exactly. Helfta Eibishter, it's like good to have that, to understand what's hidbik pas betanur. So the guy puts the dough. He doesn't want to burn his hands. So he has like a glove, as a glove like this. He puts it inside and he sticks it onto the doif and atanu. When the bread is there for 2-3 minutes and it's ready, so then he takes a spatula and he takes it out. So that's exactly what we're talking about over here. So a person put the raw dough and stuck it onto the walls of the tanur, and now he said, "Oi, it's Shabbos." So the question is he allowed to take the spatula and take out the bread? Now the Chacham said that there's a Issa D'Rabbanan to take out bread with a spatula on Shabbos. On the other hand, if he leaves it there, he's going to be over Issa Shel Torah. So what should he do? The boy the Bibi Barabai, he'd be pas bataner. He tiru lo le doisa kam shiav le chiv chatas lo yitiru. So tifshet the lo yitiru. So we see that Chachamim, they make their rules. They don't care. That just like over here, we say, well, we shouldn't give him a knas. If it's at night, he might get upset and he'll throw it out of his hand. He'll throw it, whatever. The knas is the knas. You're not supposed to put your same thing here. The Rabbi said, maybe no. The Chum said you're not allowed to be right. You're not allowed to be right. That's it. Gemara says taka. V'tivshut.
Bibi's name is there.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good mazel for him.
Rabbi, the knas is worse than bringing the kanafatis because the humiliation.
No. What we see from here is that Chachamim will make a knas, even though the ramifications is that the person can be over a chiv. They don't care. Listen, we made a rule, and the rule stays.
So together, you know.
Yeah, it's a gather, and maybe for this person it's going to work out worse, but that's it. They made the siyog l'toyr, and it applies always. Even for this guy, it's going to work out. Same thing here. They made a knas, and you see that the way the Gemara thinks is, listen, Friday, listen, you can't concept. Shabbos, he put his hand up, we give him a knas. I say, well, but one out of 10 people are going to get very frustrated, and they're going to throw it out of their hand, and then they made an akir, they made an anocha, and you didn't let him bring his hand. So the net result is you made a knas for the good of the public that Yidden will, but then this 1 out of 10 people are going to be over not the Isa the Rabboni, Isa the Raisa. So no, we don't look at that. So that will also answer the shayla of Bibi Barabaya. Come and made a general rule. You're not allowed to be the password. That's it. You're not allowed to be roida. You're not allowed to be roida. So the Gemara taka tifshit taka. You're right. Again, there's another way to answer the machloikis about if he does it or not, does not get the knas. Kam b'shoigin, kam amazing. Shoigin loy konsur rabbanim amazing, konsur rabbanim. Depends if it's b'shoigin amazing. If boy say me either b'shoigin. V'acha b'konsur shoigin got amazing mefugim. Marosov b'konsur shoigin got amazing. Marosov loy konsur shoigin got amazing. Machloikis is, for sure, we're going to punish a person when he did it amazing. The question is, should we always do Shogi got amazing? Say, let's just keep the rules equal. I say, no, Shogi, amazing. Both say, Lakasha. Depends where he wants to bring. If he wants to bring his hand back to where his original spot, we'll let him do it. If he wants to bring it to where intended to place, that we won't let him. What's the difference? He made a joke, just like Esav asked his father Yaakov, you have to count every piece of salt. So he said, when you're going to do what Esav said to Yaakov, you're going to count every piece of salt in the city. I'll give you the answer. In other words, he's saying, well, what's my hachstam in Michigan? He asked me a question. It depends. If the guy intended to bring it there, and you're going to let him bring it there, no, so Rosh Niska. If he didn't intend to put it there, he really wanted to put it there, but you're going to tell him, listen, there you can't put it, but you can bring your hand back. So then that Chazal didn't care to do. As long as Lois Avida Machshavte, that's enough a knas. So therefore, all in all, the Gemara has now Kamat 10 pshotim of what was the machloikis to the one Braisa said that there is a knas, and the other Braisa is that there is not a knas. Okay, Mitzvah, we'll continue this tomorrow, and then in the Shulchan Aruch.
What do we get up to?
We get to the 2 dots. It's Dav Daled. It's 5 lines from the top.
Thank you.
Baruchim to you.
He put the pot in the tunnel, and he took it all the way out. He didn't have a time to.